Hello. I went to PAX South 2019, and this was actually not the first time I've gone to a convention, but I went to TwitchCon 2018 in October. So it's not my first convention, and actually I have something to compare it to now. So um, I didn't take a whole week of work for this convention like I did for TwitchCon, and I only went for Sunday. So, I mean, I was pretty hyped up because I knew there were going to be some people there that I had met before, like the Great GQ at TwitchCon, and some other Twitch streamers as well, and some YouTube creators there as well. So it was something that I was looking forward to. And I had actually been to PAX South like 2 days ago. I got like a free pass, but I only had time on the last day on the Sunday for a couple of hours because I was going to check out the Royal Rumble because I was in town that year in San Antonio. So I only got to be there for like an hour or two before I went to the Alamo Dome. It was just walking distance away. And I really liked everything that I saw there. I saw a couple of indie games and stuff like that. And so this year I gave myself a whole day for that convention. It seems like a smaller convention, and I've heard that it's actually not as popular as the other PAXs at like East or West. But I mean, PAX South is in my hometown, and it was pretty good. You know, my experience from it was pretty good, and I bet it would be even better if I actually put some time into going into the other things and the various events they held. So first off, I went to the exhibit floor. Um, I had prepared myself to just wake up. I kind of did it at the last minute. I bought my ticket like a week before the event. Thankfully, there were still tickets available for Sunday. Um, I actually went right after work. I got out late, like at 2 a.m. Slept for a few hours. Woke up at 6 a.m. to get some breakfast in downtown, so that I could find a parking spot and get in line if I had to. I heard there were lines there, which is not good. So I got there at 8 a.m., 2 hours before the doors opened, and there was a line. So I got in line, and it wasn't that huge of a line, even after I waited there for 2 hours. But um, I was waiting there for like an hour and a half, and it was just to get on the exhibit floor because there was actually some cool stuff there. So once the open day, everybody kind of rushed through to get their merchandise. I think they went to what are those called? Not the bobbleheads, but the pop characters, the big head characters that are based off of different cartoons or superheroes and stuff like that, or anime. Um, Everybody rushed to that first, and I just wanted to see all the convention. Now I didn't want to be first in line for anything because I wasn't sure what was even there. But yeah, once I went through, um, it's a huge convention space, so it's like I want to kind of break it up into halves. So I saw like the left half first from where I got in, and um, I saw some cool things. There was like little merchandise, and you can see some games that developers brought to display. There's also like AAA games too, not just indies. Um, Resident Evil 2 remake. They had like a huge booth. They had like a police car with a dead zombie on it. It was pretty cool, and there was a line for it too. I don't know what you went in there for. It might have been a haunted house, might have been a place to play the demo. I have no idea what was in there, but it was pretty cool. It looked like a haunted house almost, but Resident Evil 2 themed. It was pretty awesome. And what else did I see there? Man, they had so much merchandise, like customized. You can customize your headsets now, your controls. Um, some of them were pretty pricey, so not everything is gonna fit within my budget. But like you can customize three different parts of your headset from the stuff that they're selling now. and you can get it with like Zelda stuff or whatever they make. So it's very amazing to me to see that kind of innovation and customization just to play video games. So that was the cool part. I even saw really nice like handcrafted dice game materials. Like I don't even play the dice games like D&D or anything like that. Um, it's like 20-sided dice that were customized, brass plated. It's like, man, that's awesome. If I ever play it, I'm gonna get one of those nice things. Um, and in the middle of all the booths, there would be like a random food booth where you can buy, buy yourself some nachos or something to drink. It was really, that's pretty convenient. And let's see here. There was also like the PUBG on Battlegrounds. There was an arena for that, and that was nice. There's a whole section for computers where you can bring your own computer in and play in LANs, and that was pretty awesome. Let's see here. I also saw an exhibit for Days Gone, which is coming out pretty soon, and that looks like a really good game. It's a zombie game, and you try to survive like zombies. I'm not sure exactly what the story is. To me, it looks like it's just a post-apocalyptic storyline kind of thing, and you and your partner or your brother have to survive and outrun all the zombies and just avoid them, I guess. But because you're gonna get overrun, but like you can blow up environments, not really environments, but vehicles, and the environments are super realistic, and that's really cool. And it's also like a third-person camera, which is great. It's not a first-person shooter, and it looks really promising to me. And so they also had a huge booth there with like motorcycles and zombies hanging from some wooden thing. It was very impressive. And then around noontime, right before noon, I went to a panel they were holding. It was a music panel. It was titled. It talked about why music sounds so good in video games. So they were like investigating that, and it was the panel consisted of four people. It was three of them were composers. So that means not only were they trained, they were hired by the video game industry to compose music for their games. And so they were more like, they weren't just composers, because they also talked about the sound, so they were like sound specialists. So different sounds, and there was also one voice actor. And they all came across to me as very knowledgeable. They talked about the history of how early video game music came about and what kind of composers actually were hired to do that stuff. And that was pretty interesting. It wasn't just like, because all those guys were innovators. They had to use the early NES console, which wasn't that user friendly, because it's not like you can just record something like today. Have a high fidelity recording, and then just save the MP3 file and put it on a CD, and that's it. No, you had to actually learn how to use a piece of electronic equipment, the Nintendo console, and make sounds out of it. So you had to make your own, use a very limited amount of sounds too. But you had to learn basically a little electronic instrument to even compose things. So that was interesting that they brought that up. Because it also influenced them. So, and then they talked about the whole history and how that is affecting contemporary methods. That was pretty cool. I mean, they focused a lot on some technical stuff, like you have to I mean, it was extremely knowledgeable about the subject, and how they made successful music for their games, and when I guess questions were asked, by the host. It would be something that might go over the top of people's heads, because it was like, oh, they're talking about tonality, or they're talking about a bunch of other technical. Would use technical terms that are basic to understand if you have any kind of musical training. But if you don't have any musical training and you're just a fan of video game music that doesn't want to study music, just wants to play video games, um, you wouldn't know the technical jargon. But I mean, they did use that kind of language, which it's because maybe because that's the only way to explain it. But it was good, and I think that would, if anything, that would only encourage the audience to maybe learn a little bit more about music. And I think that's part of what the panel was about. I was also very surprised how many people attended this event. This room looked pretty full at the convention center, and I've been to professional music conventions at that same convention center, and there were more people in that room than at those conventions. So that was pretty interesting. I didn't think people would be interested in that, especially because it came off so technical. They were talking about highly advanced stuff, like as if they didn't know um, that the audience doesn't really want to pursue that stuff. They just want to know like a layman's answer or something like that. But that made me think, like, wait a minute, what if there are a lot of people, and the reason they're here is because they have musical backgrounds? So that was pretty interesting to me, and kind of opened my eyes a bit. It's like, well, maybe if you don't have a personal background in music, um, doesn't mean that you wouldn't be interested in something like that. So that was interesting. It's like, I wonder how many people would actually play stuff. I mean, few people raise their hand and say, "Oh, I play the ocarina," when they ask that, and stuff like that. I don't know if they asked if anybody played any other instrument, but I know they would ask for ocarina because they made a whole video game, the Ocarina of Time, but for Zelda on the Nintendo 64. Um, and I liked all the points they brought up. I tried to do the Q&A right after, but a lot of people rushed to the mics and we ran out of time. That panel was only an hour long. I think they should have went at least an hour and a half. I remember I was comparing it to TwitchCon the whole time, and some of those that I went to, some of the panels that I went to weren't thoroughly um, attended. So, like, I went to a wrestling one, and there was like not even a full section. Out of 3 sections, not even, you couldn't even fill up one of those sections. But for this thing, they filled up a lot, and maybe they had one music panel over there. I don't know if the rooms were not even as big though. It was like a small room. So that again, that impressed me a lot because I had low expectations for that. As far as people, I thought I was going to go to one of those things where, oh, it's me, I'm a music nerd, and no, a lot of people showed up to that. That was really cool. Oh, and the last part was I was impressed that the panelists brought up some great points about creating more musical gaming events and bringing them to this area. So that would be a great thing, especially if there's so many fans that filled up the room, even if they don't participate as musicians. They can show up as fans, like the whole convention. And they were talking about like MagFest, which is video game music, one of those conventions. Why not have regional ones? Like they said like PAX South, which sounded cool. So that would be cool. And I mean, they're doing PAX South, TwitchCon this year. They're doing a TwitchCon in Europe also. So I mean, if they did that regionally and brought music events, video game music events specifically, that would be great. So that was one of my favorite parts. So yeah, I mean, it was the only panel I attended because it was Sunday, but it was a highlight. Then I went back to the exhibit floor, and I explored the second half. Saw all the merchandise, pretty impressive stuff. Right in the middle of the convention center, exhibit hall. There were some musicians. I think it was like the Super Soul Brothers. I think it sounded like a jazz band. I don't know. It was like a keyboard, percussion, electronic percussion, and a saxophone, which was cool. But I don't know. It sounded great. um, oh, and I saw NIS America booth. They were extremely impressive. I mean, they had a bunch of their new titles out there for you to play, and they had great looking TVs and all that. All their games look awesome. It's like, well, I don't have time to play all these games. And let's see here, what else was there? There's just a lot of merchandise. I saw a bunch of demos from gaming institutes, like universities were there that had gaming degree programs, and also like Art Institute was there. That was really cool because I had no idea what to expect, or if I would even recommend that to a friend if they wanted to, spend money and go to university to learn about video games. When I took one class that was like, that's all they had back then, like 6 years ago, when I graduated, was one class on how to make video games. So, and it was a pretty good university. So to make a whole degree about video games, I wasn't sure about it. I mean, but that was really impressive. I saw their demos. That'd be a great thing to pursue. You know, uh, you just group up with your classmates and try to make a video game. It's not that easy because of a lot of reasons. But let's see here. Then I wanted to meet up with my friend, the Great GQ, and I went to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament. So they were having a tournament. By the time I got there was like 64 people, and I bet they were all pros. So I didn't even sign up for it. I don't have a Switch. And eventually I learned that GQ and his roommates were all in it. So this was like four of them representing his crew. And I got to meet him again. I saw him at TwitchCon, and I saw one other guy. Freddie was there. He was at TwitchCon too. Let's see. That was near the end of it, and right next to that Mario Kart tournament was an arcade. I didn't even go inside the arcade because I'm sure there were lines in there, and there was games to play. Like, I think there was just free games you can play, which was crazy. And then they had next to that a jam space for musicians to play in, and scheduled musicians, which was cool. I had no idea that was going on, but dang, those are cool things that you should kind of advertise. So I mean, I don't know if if the convention wanted to emphasize other parts like the exhibit floor and their panels, but like the jam space, all this stuff, the tournament, the handheld tournament, the jam space, the arcade, all of that was on the third floor. And I mean, I had a hard time finding it, but man, if I had known all that stuff was up there, I probably would have hung out up there instead of on the exhibit floor the whole time. But pretty much the Mario Kart tournament was the last thing. 3:30 to 6. They closed early on Sunday, and it was a great ending because I think GQ made top 8, and then two of the people he was rooming with got first and second place. So that was hilarious and amazing, and it was entertaining. So I hung out with them for the rest of the day, and actually we ate dinner together. So the AFC Championship at a bar that served barbecue. It was amazing. Uh, After that, oh, so I mean, the things I missed out on, I didn't get to meet everybody. Like I wanted to meet another Twitch streamer, Keyblade Sarah, she streams Kingdom Hearts. I watch Kingdom Hearts through her because I don't think I have time to play every single game, but that's what she specializes in, and some other games too. So she's really good at that though. I wanted to meet her, and she's also from Texas, but I just couldn't find her. Didn't have enough time. Um, Let me see. I wanted to see somebody else. I mean, I didn't even get to meet any Twitch streamers from Texas or anything like that. And there was a couple of things like that where you can meet people. So that was one thing. I didn't know about the jam space that was next to the game tournaments and the arcade. I didn't catch the big unofficial PAX artist concert. Um, I found like a little thing. I found Mega Ran, a YouTube creator. Um, he has some really cool merchandise. I had not known about that stuff until I saw it. I was like, this is cool. So I bought like a USB of all his music and a couple other things. Um, so it was cool to meet him. I got a picture with him, and he was gonna be. I think he was definitely part of the official concert, which again was on a different day. I couldn't even watch that. The unofficial concert was like a rock house or some bar. It was I was gonna go there, but I hung out with GQ's group instead. Um, that would have been cool because they had a mariachi group and they had a couple other video game music bands that were going to perform. So that would have been awesome to have seen. I think they were hanging out in the jam space. By the time I got there, they were closing down. Nobody was scheduled. I would like to participate in one of those one day. Just, kind of show up, play a little, and that's it. Maybe hang out with some artist there. A second day would have been great to be able to fit everything in. A third day would probably be epic. I should have planned it a little bit more, even though everything pretty much went without a hitch. I could have saved some money on parking. I think I spent $50 on parking because I was there. I bought 16 hours worth of parking. You can only buy it 8 hours at a time. So it was pretty close to the convention center, but it wasn't an all-day pass. If I had an all-day pass, I would have to find a parking lot that would actually support that, and, well, at least I had my car there in case I needed one, but I didn't really need to bring my car. So, probably next time I'll take a bus or I'll ask for a ride. I mean, I live in San Antonio, 15 minutes away from downtown and the convention center. Well, I met the streamers, GQ, Megaran, and GQ's friends that I hadn't met before in person, so that was cool. Going to eat dinner at the barbecue bar was a great way to end PAX South 2019. We watched the NFL game and they were pretty salty about the ending. I didn't really mind. I mean, it was the Patriots versus the Chiefs. None of them are my team, and the Patriots, they won too much, so I didn't really care for them winning, but it was controversial and very entertaining. So I hadn't made a video for TwitchCon 2018 because it was my first con, but now I have something to compare it with. Definitely looking forward to the next time I can go to a convention. I think I'll plan it out better, and I'll be able to get the most out of the experience, and maybe I'll make more reviews. I don't know, it's something to look forward to. It's probably the most social event I've been to this year. So, and yeah, every time I go to one of those, it's a really positive experience. So, definitely looking forward to making new friends, meeting old ones, and enjoying them because I mostly go to video game ones, and they always have something cool there. Alright, thank you.